let's say this eggshell with oil adjacent right on top of a, let's say candelabra, or call, let's say, a menorah, and the oil will drip into the menorah cup, so to speak. I say menorah because we're not talking about Hanukkah, we're talking about Shabbat, but just to picture the scenario. So it says you can't go ahead and make a hole in the eggshell and place that eggshell on top of that, call it lamp, top of that lamp that's going to, and the oil is dripping into that lamp, and in that lamp you have a wick, and if you want to send to the group, they won't, thank you very much. You have a wick and oil. You can't do that, even if it's made out of earthenware, even if, good morning, Gary, even if the item that's contained, even if the item that's containing, let's see the language of the Mishnah. It says, we'll review the Mishnah again, right? The Mishnah, what is it? 29, 29b. The article is at B1, B2? B2. B2. You can't go ahead and make a hole in the shell of an egg via melena shemen and fill up that with oil. Put it by the mouth of a candelabra, of some sort of lamp, in order in order that it should drip into it, and that will last a long time. And they bring a story on the bottom from the Tashbite that his students wanted to learn the whole night. That he took a earthenware lamp, but the earthenware lamp was very small to hold oil for the whole night. So they took a shell of an egg, they fill it up with oil, they put a hole in it, and the oil would drip into the lantern, and that's how it lasted the whole night. It seems that small drip makes it last longer. That would be the reason if you wonder why a person would want to go ahead and do such a scenario with this type of, you know, maybe when it has so much oil, it's just the wick consumes more. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? It eats up more. You hear what I'm saying, Anna? But when you have a little bit of oil, so it's working, the wick is just working with that amount of oil. So it seems like, I mean, I'm not an engineer, but maybe that's why it's lasting a little longer. And even if the container that's holding the oil is not made out of an eggshell, even if it's out of earthenware, it's clay, it's made from the ground type of material, which is not pretty, still the Mishnah says you can't do that. Now, what's the issue? The issue is we're afraid that someone's going to take some of the oil from this shell, which is designated to be used as fuel for this lamp. And if they go ahead and they take some of that, that will be a problem. Now we're gonna, and the Mishnah states, even if the shell is not a eggshell, even if the thing that's going to be containing the oil is made out of earthenware. Earthenware is not pretty. It's not a pretty container. It's from earth. It's made from clay from the ground, and people don't really. That becomes ma'us to people. It becomes not so pretty. People don't. It's not so pretty. It becomes not nice to people, and you might have thought that people might not go ahead and take from the oil that's in this container. Now, what's the issue if you take from the oil from the container? So Rashi says, since you designated this oil for the container, for the lamp, you would be violating the prohibition of mechaber. You would violate the prohibition of extinguishing on Shabbos, on Shabbat. One of the prohibitions, you're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbat, you can't turn on a light on Shabbat, you can't make fire on Shabbat, you can't take out a fire on Shabbat. And if you go ahead and you, good morning. Well, I spoke to Joe, by the way. Okay, I'm going to have to speak to him again, but I followed up. No problem. Have a great day. Good to see you. Um, so what's the issue? Because if the oil is designated for the oil is designated for the lamp, so now that is a big question. You see, some say you're not actually violating the prohibition of extinguishing, but what are you doing? The fact that it's like you're extinguishing in a certain sense because since it was going to serve, it was going to light for a certain amount of time, right? It was going to burn for a certain amount of time. Now, if you take the oil out, if you take a certain amount of oil out, let's say you had 10 ounces in the eggshell. Now you have 8 ounces in the eggshell because you took some oil out. So now it's going to burn less. So that is similar to extinguishing.
Less intensely, not less long. For both.
So I'm saying if you have so most probably it's gonna also last less. If I have 10 ounces of oil and I take out 5 ounces of oil, so you might intensely and length of time. But see, there's something called intensely simultaneously, meaning here when the eggshell, if I take see if I have oil that's actually in a lantern, in like a menorah, a cup of oil with a wick in it, and I pull out and it's light, it's on fire. If I remove some of the oil that's in that cup, that immediately some say the light gets dimmer the second I remove some of the oil.
Right.
That's what you mean by less intense.
Yeah, less light.
Less light.
At one moment.
At one moment, simultaneously, that's the exact moment that you go ahead and you move the morning asaf. The exact moment that you took out the oil, if the oil was in a menorah and the morning asaf and the menorah was burning, and I took out oil from that cup, some say that the fire now is burning less intensely. So that's cool. It lowered the intensity of the fire. So that's called extinguishing. But that's true, as I want to clarify today from what we said Friday. That concept would only be true if the oil is directly in the lamp, in the menorah, in the candelabra. But here the oil is not in the candelabra. The oil is above the candelabra. It's being fed from the shell. So now, when I take oil from the supplier, and the supplier is not on, it's not in the oil is not in the wick. So that's not going to immediately that second. It's the fire is not being less. It's not going down that second that I remove it. Just now doesn't have the supply that now it's gonna light less.
That's what I thought, but I thought one of
The article, right?
Yeah, that's what I remember. Someone thought.
Right. So I realize if you look at the article, right. So that concept that Tosfot see, I tell you what they did over there. I mean, the way I might have misread it because look at the art scroll 29b2.
Mm-hmm.
In the introduction, they say extinguish Mishnah, right? The intro to the Mishnah says extinguishing a fire is an av malacha. It's one of the 39 primary labors. Extinguish. The Gemara states that even removing some oil from a burning lamp renders one liable for extinguishing. That statement is talking about not the case of the Mishnah. Removing the oil from a lamp means the oil is actually in the lamp, and then and oil is in the lamp, and that's the note on the bottom. There's a difference of opinion between Rishon and regarding the reason for this liability. So that's that statement. So that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense when the oil is in the lamp itself. It takes away from the intensity because we're having difficulty. Where is the fire going down?
Right. So that's why there's a Gemara.
There's a Gemara that says, right, and that Gemara is talking about when the oil is actually in the wick, not that it's above the wick and being flowed into it and dripping down. But with that being said, Adam, Rashi's still over here in our Mishnah, which is not the oil is in the wick. The oil is being dripped down from the egg, and Rashi also calls that extinguishing.
The
Rashi here says that the violation here is and here they
Hmm.
they write. See if they see the
Oh,
quote.
yeah,
Look at number 15.
yeah.
Tosfos position, however, puts difficulty. They are of the opinion that the life of the must have. They hold they have to have an immediate, um,
Removing any of the fuel
immediate, right? So removing some oil from the container will not immediately reduce the intensity of the flame. Why then should one use X be disallowed, right? So they're asking that question. So they bring up shot that even though it's not happening, I mean, because Tosfos learns the problem over there in that Gemara, when you take out from the oil from the lamp, is because the intensity of the fire is going down. But that will only be true if you're taking out from the menorah, or the thing that the oil is on is attached to the wick. Not that if it's being dripped down from somewhere else, it's not taken away from the intensity of the fire. It's not taking away the intensity of the fire. So what's the problem? So some say the problem is muksa. Once the oil has been designated for burning purposes, then now it's set aside, not for your use, right? So therefore, I can't. That's how some want to. That's alternatively, right? Instead of burning, the Rambam, it's muksa. It can't be used for other things, right? But I saw something else. I saw in the Masifta Gemara in the back, they bring, they ask this question on Rashi, because Rashi here goes on record and he says, if you look at the Rashi, Rashi actually says you are chayiv, you are violating the prohibition of extinguishing, not because of muksa over here, and also they're not learning the way the art school is saying, because according to the Rush, cause the lamp will go out earlier. Therefore, the rabbis prohibited the use of the eggshell because might take the oil and it'll go out earlier. Okay, so it goes out earlier. So now we have to understand how it's going out earlier. So it's tantamount. So it's like extinguishing directly, but it's not, right? So what would be if it goes out earlier? Is that a rabbinic concern, right? Is it right? What would that sound like? So, but in the back on the Rashi, in the commentary here, they say an idea that when you have oil that's designated for it to be burned to burn because it's going to flow down, drip down. Rashi's understanding perhaps is it's as if it's in the lamp itself. And if we look at that as if it's in the lamp itself, so therefore that's called extinguishing. You hear the idea? Meaning not only oil that's actually in a lamp, in a menorah, in a Shabbos menorah, and you take out some of the oil, and now let's say the intensity of the fire goes down as a result of that, or you blow out a fire, it goes down. But even if it's an eggshell containing oil, and that's going to drip into the lamp, but since it's designated for the lamp, we look at it as if it's in the lamp, and when you take some of the oil out, you are violating. It's as if you actually are violating the prohibition of extinguishing. That is, and the Rebbe Chana Washman is that we see that your mashava, your intention, actually creates a new reality. The intention that you had for that oil being designated as a drip for the lamp is as if the oil is in the lamp itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if we treat it as if the oil is in the lamp itself, you took oil out from a lamp that's burning, and that is you extinguish that the fire is now going to go out earlier, or it's we treat that that's called extinguishing a fire. There's many ways to extinguish a fire. You can extinguish a fire by blowing out the fire, maybe. Maybe they'll consider extinguishing a fire by doing a direct action that's going to make the fire go out earlier. That is maybe and that's called the fire. You have done an action your action has created the fire is no longer going to be the fire, but
What's the deeper lesson there?
no, a deeper lesson is your thought of something creates a new,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like they talk about, if you're thinking of being somewhere, you're thinking, you're thinking of, it's like when you're davening and you think you're standing in front of Hashem, like you think about it as if you're in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy of Holies, as if you're in the Beit HaMikdash praying. So it's like you're there. Meaning sometimes
Mm-hmm.
thinking about being somewhere or designating yourself as something, it's as if you're there, in a certain sense. Maybe that could explain, you wanted to be somewhere, planned on being somewhere, you set yourself up to being somewhere, you wanted to be in shul in the morning, but then there was COVID and the minyan did not happen, or whatever. They closed down the shul. You get credit as if you were there.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't there, but that mindset and that designation that thought that you of wanting to be and designating yourself in a certain place could actually be considered as if you're there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be there to be there, but you have to be prepared to be there, and you did everything to be there, and you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a deeper.
Yeah, you take the oil out of the supply tank. It's like you don't want to be there at some point.
Right, right. You're right. You're diminishing that, and your action now has diminished the amount of time that it will burn. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that point. In Because we have multiple cases. We have a case that that the article was talking about the Gemara and Beah. You took it out from actual like a lamp burning. The oil in a lantern that has the water, the oil inside. Now we're talking about the shell supply. And the Mishnah stated, even if the supply is in a earthenware utensil. Now, an earthenware utensil, you would think maybe you're not going to take that oil for eating, but who would use oil that was stored in an earthenware utensil? Um, who would use it for eating purposes? But nevertheless, the rabbis were concerned that maybe you would use it from other purposes, even not for eating purposes. So therefore, um, people used oil to put on themselves, maybe, you know, on their body or something. Maybe they'll use the oil for some other purpose, and therefore there's a concern. Meaning you can't set yourself up in a situation that you might come to do a sin, right? The concern here is the rabbis here are protecting you. How are they protecting you? They're saying, don't do this. Don't go ahead and and make a hole in an eggshell and fill it up with oil, and the oil should drip into this lamp, because don't do this Friday afternoon, because we're afraid you might come to take some of the oil from the shell. And if you take some of the oil from this eggshell, it is a problem.
Wait, don't do it Friday afternoon?
Don't do it Friday afternoon. Don't this issue here in the Mishnah is we're talking about Friday afternoon.
I thought you were talking about during Shabbat.
The problem is you might come to take the oil on Shabbat, but
Wait.
you're setting up this lamp, right?
This thing don't put the egg there at all Friday afternoon.
Right. Don't put the egg with the oil. Don't fill it up on Friday afternoon with oil, because on Shabbat itself you wouldn't be able to set up something to drip into the lamp. But that would be on Shabbat. You will not be able to do something to create something to serve as a fuel for fire, right? So therefore, you would not be able to set this up on Shabbat. But the novelty of the Mishnah is that even on Friday afternoon, it's before Shabbat. and I'm going out tonight. I want to be back. I'm going to be back late. I want the light to be still on when I come back. So I want to make a slow drip and I might think as I light the candle, whether it's for Shabbat candles or other purposes of candle for Shabbat illumination, so I might think I'm going to go light this. I'm going to fill up this egg with eggshell with oil. It'll drip into the lantern. I have a slow drip, and it will last for a long time. So what's the problem? Doing it Friday afternoon. You know what the problem is? We're afraid. What happens if, let's say, you're having a salad Friday night?
Mhm.
Maybe you'll take some of this olive oil and use it for your salad. So what's the problem? I'm taking olive oil from salad, but once this olive oil has been in this eggshell, now this olive oil becomes like part of a lamp. And since it's dripping and it's used as fuel for this fire, so if you go ahead and you take from the oil, so either the oil is muktzeh, and that's a violation, or the problem is, according to Rashi, we consider the oil as if it's in the lamp itself, and that action is making the fire last shorter by removing the fuel. So that's called extinguishing, or it's like extinguishing. However you want to learn it, you see, I'll tell you what the issue is. If you say removing the oil from the shell is the rabbinic concern, if I remove the oil from the shell,
Right.
it looks like extinguishing, even though I'm not extinguishing. So usually the rabbis don't make a preventive, a prohibition to protect the rabbinic prohibition.
Yeah, to say you can't even put it in the shell.
You can't even put it in the shell as it's a wall of wool. Don't do this. Maybe you're going to go ahead and take from it. And if I take from it, if it's only rabbinic law, so I'm only protecting rabbinic law. So generally, the rabbis will not create a violation to protect the rabbinic wall to protect to protect the rabbinic law. But the way Rashi learns, it's preventing a Torah violation. Because Rashi learns that if you actually will take from this oil on Shabbat, this oil that was in the egg shell that was supplying this lamp, if you would take from that oil on Shabbat, you actually be violating, extinguishing the fire. Rashi says there's a Torah violation if you would take from it on Shabbat. So therefore, according to Rashi, it's very good that the rabbis make a fence. Don't do this before Shabbat. Don't create such a scenario that they can have a drip, because you might violate the Torah on Shabbat, because you might take some of that oil for personal use on Shabbat. And how does Rashi say it's a Torah violation if you take some of the oil? Like we said, we consider the oil that's dripping in as if it's there, as if it's in the lamp. And now you remove fuel from the lamp. If you move fuel from a lamp that's actually in the lamp, you violate Torah, Shabbat, on a Torah level. Here also you violate on the Torah level. Okay. It's a much total better clarity today, I think.
Yeah.
Ronnie, Asaf, have a great day. Thank you. Thank you for being here.